Hi everyone, can everyone hear me correct? Yeah? So welcome here. We are here at South by Southwest. We are here with the Tezos Ecosystem and we are here at a panel about augmented reality. We will talk about the building blocks and avatars. With me today is Matthew Klimpke, he's from Vyking and Flex. Alexx is with us, he's from BlueVishnu, and also here digitally is Stöckl from Dogami. Welcome everyone. Maybe it's a nice way to start this panel by actually taking a little bit a deep dive in the question about NFTs. I'm sure you all heard about it, but I actually would like to look a little bit beyond the hype. We have 3 projects here. They all look very exciting. And I actually would like to know, maybe you can, all of you, introduce a little bit, like what is your project about, your company about, and also how do you see actually the future of NFTs or what you would like to do with NFTs? Who of you would like to start?
My name is, as you mentioned, my name is Matthew. I'm one of the founders of Vyking and now Flex. And Flex is a platform for digital fashion NFTs, and all of these items are available to be worn in augmented reality.
So when we talk about the future of NFTs, is the future digital fashion?
So the future of digital fashion lies very much with blockchain, NFTs, and augmented reality. So in the real world, when you buy an item of clothing, you want to be able to wear it. So if we're selling digital fashion NFTs, you need to be able to wear them. So that's what we're specialized in, like foot tracking, body tracking, and that's the AR piece. And that on the NFT side, because we are a creator-first platform, it's very important that they are tokenized, so that we give creators the control to monetize directly their artwork.
And how is that with BlueVishnu, Alexx?
Hi, I'm Alexx. So we believe that the company is BlueVishnu. We believe that you having access to your avatar, 3D version of yourself, and being able to interact with that and bond with that can actually change your life for the better. And so this is what me and my team, we've been working on for years, and we're very passionate about. Our mission is to unlock human potential, and to just break that down a little bit so that it's more meaningful. Is there's a few obstacles to realizing your own potential, and one of those blockades can be being able to empathize with future versions of yourself. So a lot of the stuff that we talk about and that we're focused on is health and fitness applications of interacting with your avatar. So for example, if you can see your future potential based on current behaviors, if you're behaving in a certain way and you can modify that behavior, if you can see those results, then you would actually, it's more reinforcement, and you're able to actually become that best version of yourself. So there is, and I know I'm getting a little wordy here, but there's one example that really will land it, and it actually is it's my favorite study. I know I told you about it from Stanford. Jeremy Bailenson runs the virtual human interaction lab. He's been studying this stuff for ages, and he took 60 college-age students at Stanford. So these are kids about 20, 22 years old, and had them interact with their own avatars. And so half of them interacted with an avatar that looked exactly like them, and then half of them interacted with an avatar that was a 60-year-old version of themselves. Part of the whole process was to bond with your avatar, and so those who bonded with their older selves wound up putting twice as much into a retirement account than those who hadn't. So there's real evidence that supports that this experience can actually be transformative in how you interact with yourself.
I can already see with these 2 examples that we are really talking about utility, so it's not this right-click save. How is that actually with Dogami, Max?
Yeah, great to meet you. So Dogami is a mobile play-to-earn game in which you can adopt and raise a virtual NFT dog. So players can earn rewards like NFT accessories, but also crypto token. But also one of the activities that players can engage in is that they can develop the avatar, they can accessorize it and customize it. And it's also their entry ticket to the Petaverse, which is basically a augmented social experience, as we like to call it. And it's, yeah, for a community of dog lovers and gamers, then that can interact with each other. And one of the enablers for the Petaverse for us is augmented reality, because we sort of think that the metaverse is all around us, and this should be a digital layer on the real layer, on the real world. And yeah, so therefore augmented reality.
I think
And
sorry, yeah, Max?
and to add to that, I think NFTs for us are really like one of the major building blocks for the metaverse, because it is something to enable digital ownership, which is going to be extremely important in the future.
I think you touch upon something important here, because I think it's also very interesting to have all three of you, because we will have the 3D of yourself that can be dressed up, and we can own a pet. So I can already see we have some of the building blocks of the digital me or the digital you here on stage. However, also what you were addressing, Max, augmented reality, a digital layer. Where are we actually at this moment? Are there like exciting developments coming up? Do we have to use our telephone, or who of you feels to address this question?
I'd say, I mean, of course, right now everything's still happening through the phone, but it's already amazing. Like, I think hundreds of millions of people have interacted with like face filters. You know, they're using it to like try on glasses, try on makeup. We have like the same with like the virtual try on of shoes. This is like a much more normalized behavior now. So this is, mobile AR is very much established, and you know, this is like the stepping stone to getting to that point where we have the AR glasses. And I think that's the, you know, that's what we're super excited about, because you know, when we have that, then it's like it's persistent, and it, you know, we're able to use the entire body, all of the clothing, the physical clothing that we're wearing, as like the canvas that can be augmented. So don't know when that's going to be. We're hoping this year that the AR glasses are going to come out, so that we can start to build the Flex application for, you know, for this this hardware as well.
And is there anything else that you say next to the glasses that is in development, like tooling, or how should we actually see, as like people that have absolutely no clue what's going on in AR, where this is going to be?
Maybe I can add to that. So I think that we have the main building blocks at a reasonable technological state. So we have like visual recognition. We have like a lot of data that can describe the context around us and the environment. We do have wearables like mobile phones, but I think who's going to win this game is the platform that integrates these three building blocks in the future, and who can actually build meaningful applications on top of that layer. Niantic, the publisher of Pokemon Go, they have a really good developer kit with light chip that brings those things together to an extent. But I think right now there's a lot of shortcomings in the actual applications. And because most of the applications are consumer focused and entertainment focused, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think there's a lot more to go.
And also, of course, when we talk actually about like AR, and we're going actually in this digital world, we might call it a metaverse. And then we all know what happened, that there was someone called Mark Zuckerberg that explained his vision for the metaverse. How are you actually looking to that? Because we all know you have been deciding to build upon Tezos, which is a decentralized technology. Are you thinking that there will be a decentralized metaverse? Alexx, do you have vision on that?
Yeah, I really hope it is. I mean, I'm actually a big believer that, at least speaking for what we're providing, that when you get a 3D scan with BlueVishnu, you have a right to that asset. You should own that asset. And this is actually one thing that makes me really excited about what we're doing here at South by Southwest, is we're actually minting on the Tezos blockchain your avatar, and that's yours. And so there's, you know, we're talking about Meta and Facebook, and this kind of gets to the kernel of what I think is really interesting about the NFT. And my CTO and friend Dave has asked me to just plug the buzzword non-speculative utility, because this is the stuff that's the most interesting to me. And we're certainly in a hype cycle, and there's a lot of speculation going on, but there's a lot of noise out there. But the signal there is that there's some real value to these NFTs. 9 out of 10 companies fail, and so I'm pretty certain we're going to be good and not one. We'll be the one. But if you get a 3D scan with us, you own that. If it's been minted on the blockchain, that's something. As long as as long as you store it on IPFS and you pin that and you have a permanent record, then you own that, and we can go away, and you still have access to your data. And that's a bit of a nuanced thing, but that's powerful. So if Instagram or if Meta decides that they want to kick me off of Instagram, all of the files, especially all of the data that I have created for the social media platform, in app, it's gone. I have no access to it. And so, of course, you can back up all of your data, but that's kind of a pain in the ass. But if you are actually minting your social information or minting your data and had a public record of this, and so when Facebook decides to kick you off, or they decide to give you the boot, you still have your data, and you still have it, and you can basically just, if there's another social media aggregator out there, and you can say, okay, who wants this stuff on their social media platform, and then you can just so it really flips the power. So you really aren't just this consumer that has to stick with one platform.
I mean, I would also add to that and say that, of course, Meta, they have very good applications. There's a lot of thinking about like Spark AR. There are huge amounts of 3D artists that are using that now to publish like AR effects, and they've been doing this for a few years. And it's very, the product is very successful. But all of those creators, they never see a penny in any of the revenue that's generated from Facebook having all of that traffic. And so I think that as a creator, it's nice that there are these tools, and it's like they can publish these effects, and they can, gain followers and make a name for themselves through these platforms. But they're never sharing in the success of the platform. And I think this is why blockchain and like a decentralized, creative solution is definitely the way forward. And I think as creators start to understand, hey, when I publish on, through something like Flex, then they have full control over, they own all of the digital content that they create. They don't own it. As soon as they put it up on Facebook, it belongs to Facebook. So I think that is, we're going to see more and more creators coming over to decentralized marketplaces to distribute their content.
Yeah, I think we're touching upon actually two very interesting topics here. So one is ownership, and the other thing I really like as well, this term that your CTO coined, the non-speculative NFT. It actually looks even like, in the case, of course, what you were describing with 3DU, this bonding experience. Max, I can also imagine actually that when you have a pet, a dog in the petaverse, that people also do not just buy it to speculate. It might be a bonding experience. How do you look at the speculation and the dogs in the petaverse?
I mean, what we see from our community is that actually a lot of people do buy the dogs because they want to replicate their real dog, and because it's like, immortal. But also, I think for us, I actually really like the term non-speculative utility. For us, it's fairly straightforward because we are building a game, and assets in game usually have value to some extent because they either make you better or it can win faster, etc. But also, I think the nice thing about NFTs is that you can sell them if you want, so you can get rid of them, which you can't usually with normal platforms like Facebook or Steam, to stick to the gaming environment. But actually, one very interesting bit that was mentioned is this notion of the open metaverse. And yes, we are also on Tezos because it's layer one and because it's scalable and energy efficient, etc. But also it's a good gateway to other blockchains, and interoperability going forward is going to be extremely important. In our example, for example, you can, with your dog NFT, you can participate in the game, but you also be able to transport your dog into other environments, that is other blockchains, and participate in experiences there. And I think this is going to be, right now it's pretty innovative, I would say, but in the future it's going to be standard. And as a consumer, you wouldn't even notice when you switch blockchains. That's at least what I believe. And also, I think decentralization, there's a lot of things that still need to be fixed, in the sense that right now it takes a lot of responsibility as a consumer to own your private keys into seed phrase, etc. If you lose them, you're screwed. Like you lose access to your NFTs, which is obviously risky. I don't know what the other guys think about that, or what you think about it.
I think that brings us actually to the topic of roadblocks. I think we're having this panel because, of course, we are really still in a stage of exploration, but that also brings us still with some of the roadblocks that are still there in the tech. What is actually holding us back to be already fully immersed in the petaverse or in the metaverse? What would you say, Matthew?
I mean, if we're talking about the AR section of the metaverse, then when we're talking about like the glasses, I say that as humans we need to get comfortable with walking around with cameras on our heads, and I don't know like how ready we are to as humans to be able to do that. So I think you're always going to have these early adopters, but beyond that, it's I'm not sure. I think we need to have those first people doing it, and of course we need that in order for our vision to come to life. But cameras on the heads, it's like it's got to look really nice. They better look good, the glasses.
And would you actually then maybe say that a digital avatar would maybe facilitate that instead of actually having an overlay?
You mean having another human overlay on top of you?
No, I wanted to move away from AR because I was thinking instead then of seeing the first step maybe in AR, wouldn't it actually be beyond AR, having first your digital you that you dress up? Or would you actually think that we first will dress up ourselves?
I think, if you look at like Roadblocks and all of these like these gaming platforms, it's already happening there, and it's like super well established now. And I think that people are really they're spending a lot on dressing up the avatars in these spaces. So, like of course we look at things from an AR perspective, but if you look at gaming and VR, it's already happening there. And people have multiple personas, multiple avatars. So that is that's the step before.
And I saw Alexx that you wanted to comment upon this.
So I think there'll actually be there's different paths that people will want to take to speaking specifically of what would motivate you to want to be an avatar in the metaverse. There's different paths that are going to motivate people. Some people are going to want to try on different digital fashion, and that's going to bring them in. Some people are going to want to create a different version of themselves in a video game. Some people might actually be interested in the health aspect. You might be recommended by your dermatologist to get a 3D scan. These are all different avenues that can get you there. But what we're interested in is actually, so this is why we're building this platform, is that no matter what brings you in, you'll have the utility to do all things. So you can be directed by your dermatologist, and then suddenly we can work with you guys to create digital fashion and try on different shoes, and it becomes unlimited. So I think there's no one thing that'll bring people in. It'll be just many different roads that lead to the one.
And also, Matthew, you mentioned there might be one U or there might be multiple U's. And Max, you said before you saw that people are actually trying to recreate their dog. Is it also, are you looking beyond real dogs? Like, are we going to expect pink dogs or dogs on steroids? Or, how do you see the future of the dogs in Dogami?
Yes, so we definitely want to have more creative dogs, I'd say, where you're like, I don't know, unicorn dog, I don't know, stuff like that. So we do want to enable people to customize the avatars to an extent, also with clothes and hats, etc. But maybe to get back to your question regarding roadblocks, I think right now there's the user experience for most NFT projects and in its space is quite clunky. Like, it's hard to, get the currency in which you buy, then you have to have a wallet, then it takes some time to do the actual transaction, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a long way to go there, and whoever masters easy onboarding and a good user experience and also enables players to switch different ecosystems is going to have a huge advantage. And this is also going to be the moment when there's huge adoption, in my opinion.
Yeah, so what I see actually is that the user journey in order to enter actually towards your product, to actually obtain your product, that's actually a massive roadblock. I think we are over 10 years now in blockchain, but it's of course nothing. So yeah, I guess that is something that you almost cannot influence, or do you see that you also can have like an advocacy role there? Do you position yourself as well there as someone that can help bring people closer to blockchain? Alex?
Pick me. So again, this is one thing that I'm really excited about, this, being here and doing this collaboration with you guys, is the process of actually we've been onboarding a lot of first timers into getting their very first NFTs or their very first interaction with the blockchain, and there's been a little bit of friction here and there because this is still a pretty new process, and it's software that was written fairly recently, and there's bugs here and there. But in general, most of them have you can see the glimmers of like absolute frictionless in most of them, where it's just you're scanning a QR code, you hit a button, suddenly you can walk into a scanner. We've done the team's done an incredible job of building a scanner that is like a photo booth. I mean, 3D scanning is not a photo booth, but we've made it so that you just walk in, snap, walk out, and then we create this thing in minutes. So we're iterating, and I don't just mean us as a company, like collectively, we're all iterating on all of these tools to make things easier to onboard and slowly remove some of these obstacles. And I'm actually seeing huge improvements. And I did a little bit of experimenting in AR back in one of the early hype cycles, probably 2010. And it was such an interesting, like, oh my goodness, you're seeing this like 3D and real. It was really exciting, but the obstacle of holding your phone and just and scanning a QR, at the time you were just tracking a QR code, that was just too much for people to come back to. Everyone wanted to check it out, but that they saw it and it was just not practical. So a lot of those obstacles have those friction points have been a little bit more lubricated. So I'm actually seeing great promise, and this particular event is making me very optimistic for that process.
I think one major point for this or for frictionless onboarding is going to be that digital entity you have. I mean, right now, the digital entity is basically, in our case, Tezos address. This is what links you to your NFT and the seed phrase, of course. But once you have that set up, and once you can link your Tezos address to your digital avatar and to the clothes and to your dog, you're basically all set to explore that metaverse or augmented reality experience. So I think once we have arrived there, it's going to be really exciting what you can do.
What I also wonder when we are talking about this is, so on the one hand, it's the onboarding. On the other hand, it's also, Alex, what you explained, people have to get used to using new technology. One thing that I already asked about Max about the future of the dogs, if they will be pink. How is that actually with Flex? Like now, when you buy a digital sneaker, they actually still look like sneakers, although there are snakes on top of it. But do you also see that the future of digital fashion will maybe make us shoot fire out of our feet? Or how do you see this actually?
I mean, that's what we want to attract creators that want to do things that you can't do in the real world. And that's what I think with the Snakers collection, the first one, we want to show, you know, there are no boundaries, there are no limits. You can build whatever you want, and that is like digital fashion for the metaverse. And it is, we don't have to be bound by these like shoelaces and things like this. It's not, we don't have to think about function. It's purely aesthetic, and this is the really exciting thing about it.
And
I think it's
also,
actually,
sorry?
can I say something here? It's also, I think, an amazing opportunity for brands. We see it with one of our partners, so we're going to announce a partnership soon. But anyway, basically we want to do accessories for our dogs. And this, very substantial retailer goes down the road to say, okay, we're going to introduce now virtual dog accessories. And then in the future, we might introduce real life accessories, even though they don't exist. So for them, it's an opportunity to test the actual product market fit, which is really cool.
And is this also possible, Alex, for humans? Because we were first talking about bonding with the digital you. But can you make the digital you blue, or where does this stop?
But of course. Yeah, we're capturing the ground truth, and from there we can deviate, and you can explore different versions of your inner self, or again, actually use objective data about your current behaviors to see into your future about your future self. You may want to fly. You may want to be blue, and screw those damn shoelaces. You may want to have an avatar without shoelaces. But yeah, that's certainly something that I think is exciting to see how people interpret their own versions, their own avatars.
And maybe also then talking again back about all the projects. We talked about some friction points. We talked about the far future of flying and being blue. But what is actually coming up, maybe in the next months in your project? How is that looking for Dogami?
We announced recently a partnership with Sandbox. That's this partnership where you can bridge over from one blockchain to the other. Then we're gonna do probably a second drop of dogs next 2 to 3 months, and then we will launch the first version of our game in the end of June. In the meanwhile, we will launch some merchandise, etc. But we keep on pushing to build our version of the metaverse, to build, as I said, this augmented social experience, and to grow our community even further. It's a really exciting space, as you know, the whole play to earn space, and quite exciting.
And what with Flex?
So we've just launched like a beta version of the platform just a couple of days ago. So things on the roadmap for this year. So we've started obviously with sneakers. We're also going to be later in the year, we'll be building out like an iOS and Android app that will have like face tracking in it. There'll be like image target tracking in there as well. So it's to use. We'll be using like the face tracking to create like a digital fashion, like face filters. The same with the image target. We'll have we'll print T-shirts with like a flex image target on there, and when they use the phone, that will like bring the QR code to life, just to show what's going to be possible in the future with the augmented reality glasses. So we're going to do quite a few experimental drops, and so yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
And Alexx, how is it with BlueVishnu?
The question was on
what are the upcoming like exciting things, not in the far future, but
Sure.
the next month?
Sure. So here at the conference, we're scanning people in different poses, and it's fun and exciting for people. But what's coming up next is we'll be scanning people in an A pose, and a pose that can be animated, rigged and animated, so that your avatar can do any pose and actually become metaverse-ized. Is that a word? Can I use that? So that's on our short-term roadmap.
I guess you can. And also maybe coming back to what we talked about before, about maybe the dystopian that we saw with Mark Zuckerberg in the metaverse. You mentioned Max community already. We talked about the friction that we actually have with blockchain. But I guess a big difference with Mark Zuckerberg is that we invite the community actually to maybe even co-create, but at least to bring us to where we are now. How does the interaction work in all of your products with the community? Do you actively involve them? Do you engage with them? How's that with you, Matthew?
So a lot of the artists that we're working with, so some of them are filter creators for Instagram and for Snapchat. So we're very excited to bring a lot of these artists over to Flex, to experiment with us as well. So they bring their communities with them, and this is like for us, it's like they get to build their digital fashion brand on Flex. So we just hope to create lots of new brands through this.
And is there a whole Dogami community as well, Max? Are people
Yes.
trading their dogs actually?
Yes, so we met 1 million Tezos transaction volume today. So I think quite substantial, yeah. So yeah, I mean, we have 90,000 community members on Discord. I don't know, 30 community managers and mods, even more, I think. And the interesting bit in this NFT space is that it's global, it's 24/7, and you get constant feedback. So there it's more about, okay, what is actually relevant? Obviously, we need to take everything serious, but that's a very, very special space, I would say, because if you want to get feedback, you will get feedback. And if you don't want to get feedback, you will also get feedback. So you just have to execute on it. And this is, from a startup perspective, obviously super exciting because, I mean, you can just know immediately whether people are interested in your product or not and what their pain points are, etc. So really good foundation for developing a product.
And I think in your case, Alexx, you have met actually the community here by Southwest actually today or yesterday. How was it actually interacting with everyone?
It's great. People are really excited by what we're doing. They're starting to get an understanding of what it means to have an asset and have an NFT from it. So the response has been fantastic. We're drawing crowds. I'm really pleased.
Yeah, that actually brings me then also to the end of this panel. And when we are talking about this, maybe this opportunity to co-create or to get feedback, I don't know if there are any questions in the public. If there are questions, now's the moment. I see there one in front. We have to wait 1 second for you to get the microphone. Then you will also be recorded.
What was the reason for you guys to build on Tezos?
I'll start there. There's three things that are important for me that Tezos checks. One is that it has a very low environmental impact. That should be obvious why that's important. The second is that it's a low barrier to entry, a low cost to mint. Those are two of the most important things. And the third is just the community. And just from my limited interaction, the community seems very strong and very motivated and very welcoming. So it's a very welcoming, decentralized community. There's a lot of sort of closed lingo that is a little off-putting, I think, to people that want to start looking into it, and I haven't experienced that with the Tezos community. So those three things drew me in.
I mean, for us, it's much the same. You know, it's the accessibility. It's like also the environmental argument. I can only echo that, because when we're talking about digital fashion as being a solution to potentially like the fast fashion overconsumption, then if we're saying, okay, this digital fashion is inherently more sustainable, then we want to do it on a blockchain that's also not polluting.
Yeah, and I would like to, I think everything has been said. 2 points I'd like to add is, first of all, the technology is obviously very compelling because it's an upgradable blockchain. And what was important in our decision making is that we not on a layer 2 solution like Polygon, because being on layer 1 is just, more intuitive for consumers and also makes it, again, easier to onboard customers.
I didn't see any other hands when I asked for a question. If you do, this is your last opportunity. If not, then I actually just would like to thank everyone for this great panel and for your contribution.
Thank you.